Hey everyone, welcome back to the All Music Matters That podcast. I'm your host, Brian. And joining me today are two very special guests, Mari and Brett, on the band Perfect Nightmare. How y'all doing today?
Doing good. How are you?
Not too bad, man. Brett, how you doing?
Doing great, man.
All right. And where are you guys hailing from, actually?
We are based out of Modesto, California, but our members kind of live all around. We have our drummer and our guitarist live in Modesto. Mari and the bassist live in Turlock, and I live in the little farm town called Escalon. They all border each other, so we kind of all meet in the middle of Modesto.
That's very sweet. And how's it this time of year out in California?
Warm, very warm.
That's good. I would almost replace it. It's actually been somewhat pleasant out here. I'm actually out in Pennsylvania, actually, close to the city of Pittsburgh. So, I guess, so what's been new recently? What's new with Perfect Nightmare?
I guess we've just been playing a lot of shows, and we've been getting a lot of opportunities, being able to play in different places and places that we haven't played before. We're also working on new music, recording and things like that, hoping to have some new stuff before the end of the year or possibly early next year as well.
That's good to hear. Yeah, I checked you guys out on Spotify, and have you only released 3 songs so far? You guys just doing singles until maybe next year to release a full album?
Correct.
I was there if you're going to elaborate on. So I guess, is this still in the works? I guess, have you guys entered any studios yet to kind of take up the project yet?
We don't have any direct studio that we're working with. We have a great, very talented young producer and sound engineer that we've been working with. We brought him on board to kind of run our sound when we're live, kind of do a real-time mix for us. And turns out he's a hell of a producer. He actually got his degree in communications, and he specialized in mixing and mastering. Took a lot of classes and stuff like that. His name is Chris Stallworth. And he's out of, is it Outwater, Mari?
Yes.
And very talented young man. We're very happy to be working with him. Everything that we do instrumentally, we're able to do in-house thanks to, the incredible leaps music production has made for musicians at home. And then when it comes to vocals, sometimes we'll go to a friend's studio or we'll book space at a studio, and we'll have Mari kind of get her tracks down. We send them over to Chris. He mixes, masters, and then they're ready to go.
That sounds good. All right. Good luck on your new project, Harris. So the way this is going to work is we're just going to ask you some questions, get to know both the ends, both as the individuals, but also as the musicians too. So hope you have time to review the questions. So you both ready?
Yep.
All right. So we'll start with the first one right here, and we'll do ladies first to be gentlemanly. So Mari, how did you become a musician? I guess, who are you particularly?
Well, I started getting into like rock and, kind of like alternative stuff, like really early on when I was, 13, 14, everyone around that age gets into like, AFI and 30 Seconds to Mars. And so I was really into bands like that. And then I remember one day I heard Bullet for My Valentine for the first time. And I just really connected with that band. And it really, I just felt inspired. I just felt like I wanted to create something that would inspire other people as much as they inspired me. So I remember I started playing guitar a little bit, but it was just, I don't know, it wasn't enough for me. And so then that's when I kind of started discovering female fronted metal bands, like Kitty and In This Moment, Arch Enemy, bands like that. I just feel like it wasn't really as common when I first started getting into it to see women doing this. And so I started getting into all these bands, and I just really wanted to learn how to do it. So I would look up YouTube tutorials and stuff on how to scream and do all that, and I would practice when there was nobody home, and I would like record myself in private and like listen to it and stuff like that. So it was just like something that I kind of like kept to myself that I did for a while, was like working on my vocals and stuff. And then like once I got out of high school, I really wanted to like be able to be in a band and play shows and stuff like that. So that's when our other guitarist, Steph, and I, we met shortly after I got out of high school. And we've ever since then kind of been building this band up, Perfect Nightmare. So yeah, that's how I got my start to where I'm at now. So.
All right, and Brett, you want to go ahead?
Yeah. So I kind of grew up in a house where music was on 24/7. My parents they have a great stereo. They bought every album you could imagine. As a kid, I grew up in the 90s. I'm 36 years old. So I was very fortunate to have a lot of gateway bands existed in that time. You had like Korn and Limp Bizkit, and the new metal wave was kicking off. So it was kind of really easy to kind of get into heavier music at the time. And then that kind of led me, as your taste gets heavier and heavier, I started getting into bands like Mari mentioned, Arch Enemy. I even got into European stuff like Dimmu Borgir and Enslaved and Opeth. Became a very big Dream Theater fan. I love prog. Big Petrucci fan. So when I was in junior high, and I went over to his house, doodled around for a while. I just was overwhelmed with the ability that, like, wow, I can actually make cool sounds with this. So it became an addiction. I didn't have a job because I was only like 14, so I went and mowed lawns for money until I had enough to buy a pawn shop guitar. And then I basically just spent all my time indoors, learning from guitar tabs on websites and watching videos like John Petrucci's Rock Discipline and Yngwie Malmsteen's I can't remember the name of the video, but it's the one where he teaches arpeggios from hell. Basically just became so infatuated. And then, that eventually, friends started playing drums and bass, and we would get together and jam. And then those kind of turned into little garage bands. And the rest is history, man. I just kept on going and been going ever since, aside from a small little break being in the military. But after I got back, I got right back into it.
Well, thank you so much for your service. I guess what branch of the military were you part of, and I guess what you do?
I was in the Army. I actually kind of got caught in the recession in 2008, and I was working 2 jobs and couldn't afford rent because rents were going way up. And it was really hard to kind of pay for school and stay focused in school. And all these veterans around me, all their school was covered, and they were getting a monthly stipend, so they didn't have to work and they could just focus on school. And I thought, man, that would be really great. So I went into the recruiter's office, asked, what can get me out the fastest, and that job was the infantry. So a couple weeks later, I was in the Army infantry.
Oh, geez, that must have been crazy. Did you get deployed anywhere, or did you just stick it around the States?
No, I deployed. My only duty station was in Vicenza, Italy, with the 173rd Airborne. And because I was a really big athlete when I was a kid, so I tried out for it's called a long range reconnaissance surveillance team. They're little scout teams. They don't exist anymore because they just use drones now. But we got into that, and it was kind of cool because we're kind of like the privileged unit in the battalion. We only take orders from the battalion commander and the sergeants above us and stuff like that. So we were very fortunate. We got all the cool toys to play with. But when it came time to deploy, it was a heavy toll because as much as we think we're good at hiding and being ninjas and stuff like that, 9 times out of 10 we spent all our time running away, trying to break contact because they found us and running for our lives.
Run away!
It was an interesting time. It was during the Benghazi era. I was in Afghanistan, and it kind of emboldened a lot of activity in the area, and we started getting riots and people driving like 4,000-pound truck bombs into bases, and They got really bold with their mortaring and everything. It was pretty rough, but I made it out, made it home, and the rest is history, man.
I see. And thank you again so much for your service there, and especially as we're approaching Veterans Day. And I guess get back into music a little bit. What do you think of the whole thing with Portnoy coming back to Dream Theater?
Oh, dude, I am so excited. Are you kidding me? The Portnoy, I mean, Mangini is incredible, and he filled a big hole and did a phenomenal job. And I really like some of those Mangini albums, but Portnoy is just on another level. I mean, that dude's incredible, and I feel like he brings a lot of that heavy metal energy into the band. When he's always been there, they've always been, a little more aggressive in their sound, and I'm excited for what they release next, because they got Portnoy back, and he's like the rock star of the band.
Yeah, that'll be interesting to see. And Mari, I know you talked about Bullet for My Valentine's, so I guess were you the one that was blasting Tears Don't Fall?
I'm always blasting Tears Don't Fall.
It's always like it starts off really nice, then also it's just like, let's go.
Yes. Yeah.
I actually remember the music video. I was always surprised how they trimmed down like certain parts of it too, so it wasn't as long as like how the actual song was too. I do remember. What was that? What was the album name that had Tears Don't Fall in it? Because it also had 4 words, right?
Right, The Poison, their debut album.
Okay, yeah. That was when they were real heavy, and then they still kept some of the heaviness around, but they kind of back away from some of the screaming in their later albums.
Yeah, they definitely did. And I know they got a lot of like hate for it, but I know like their most recent album actually came out 2 years ago today. Their self-titled album. It's really good. It's got a lot of heavy stuff, got a lot of screams. I mean, I honestly like everything they do just because I feel like I connect with them so much. So yeah, I mean, I don't mind their stuff that's not as heavy. Like I know a lot of people really did not like their Temper album and Gravity and stuff like that, but I love those albums.
It's the same thing like how Trivium and All That Remains, how they kind of like changed their paths like after their first album. Like it seemed like their first maybe 1 or 2 albums was like real heavy. There was a lot more screaming, that sort of thing involved. And then they started like toning down a little bit. They still kept some of the metal and heaviness, but they didn't do as much screaming wise and everything else like as they did on their first 2 albums. So that's why they ended up getting a lot of hate for it too, I guess. Do you understand that at all? Or I guess.
Yeah, I mean, but I think it's important to change it up a little bit here and there, regardless of what anyone thinks. So, I mean, I think it still worked out well for Bullet for My Valentine because they did something that they were happy with and something that they wanted to do.
Yeah, and I keep thinking All That Remains. I think it is something that kind of like was meant to be the so-called middle finger to those type of critics who would always criticize their so-called change in music too. So I forget which one it's called, but I'll have to dig through it again. But speaking of which, for Bullet for My Valentine and these groups, would you say these are the groups that really inspired you, informed Perfect Nightmare?
Yeah, I mean, these are like bands that just made me want to do music and made me want to do the same thing. And so, like I said, a band like Bullet for My Valentine, I think that really just kind of opened a can of worms for me and made me really want to like go for it. But I just kind of really didn't know what I wanted to do. So that's why I like started playing guitar. I was like, okay, like I'll try this. And then, getting more and more into the genre and discovering more and more bands. There's so many like women that do this and a lot more now than back then. So it's really cool to see like the growth and progression with that. But, I saw like these women doing it and it was just like, I had to do it. Like, I don't know what it was. Like, I think about it and I'm like, why did I want to do this so bad? Like, but yeah, I mean, it was just something that I had to do. And, we're having a lot of fun doing this right now. I think, we've got a lot going on. We've got a lot of shows coming up and, So I think we're just getting started right now. So
Journey is just beginning. And I guess, Brett, who inspired you to kind of like take up a guitar and everything, as well as influence?
I would say Jimmy Page. To be honest, Jimmy Page was that's the first thing I started learning to play was Led Zeppelin songs. And then, as I got better, I grew into Guns N' Roses and then Metallica. And I would say probably the most inspiring guitarist would be Michael Ament from Arch Enemy. I just love the way that he's able to have this beautiful balance between brutality and just beautiful melodies. And I mean, if you look at the Gasso years, there was no cleans in any of those songs at all. And the leads were just so soulful. And him and his brother's ability to just write these incredible works of art, and everything in that band, it's why my favorite guitar tuning is C standard, because I just love that sound, that Arch Enemy sound that they have, and it also happens to be the same sound used in Death Clock and In Flames. Well, I'd say In Flames, 90s era In Flames, Colony album. After that, I kind of grew into John Petrucci, another soulful player. I guess that's what I'm attracted to, I guess you could say. I like that narrative that they're able to create in their leads. It feels like a journey that you're going on, and there's just all these twists and turns, and then they always climax into these beautiful finales.
I'd say it's almost like a psychedelic experience when you kind of think about it too.
Oh yeah, Octavarium, the Razor's Edge, that end solo. Oh my God, it's just magical, especially on the Score album.
Really, that's pretty cool. And I guess talk about some of the lyrical content you guys covered in the songs you released so far. I guess, Mari, if you want to explain, I guess, the 3 songs you released.
Yeah. So our debut single, "This Is War," it's like a really therapeutic song for me. Just for me, that song is about overcoming and getting yourself out of a bad situation and being able to come back from it and be better and do better. It's about strength and really, I guess, becoming your true self and, fighting your way out of the darkness, I guess. I was just kind of in a not so good situation, and the song was really, like I said, therapeutic to me. The lyrics just really came to me one night, and I was just like, wow, like this is a lot. But yeah,
there's a story there. It's okay.
Yeah.
Important meaning.
What's that?
The meaning behind the lyrics. They have a very important meaning, though. There's a reason why he said them.
Oh yeah. For This Is War, I kind of felt like, I'm done with this situation that I was in. For me, it was like this is war. This is it. This is me taking myself back. So that's the gist of This Is War, I guess.
I guess, does your lyrics, they deal with like something you dealt with in your personal life, or you just try to find inspiration that just pops in your head one day?
I mean, for the most part, like out of the 3 singles that we have, yeah, I mean, it's like stuff that I deal with in my personal life that I chose to put down on paper. Like Buried Alive is kind of about like dealing with anxiety, being stuck inside your head and not really knowing what to do. Just kind of that anxious, panicky feeling is really what Buried Alive is all about. And Violence, our most recent single, is kind of just like that in your face, like, let's tear this place apart song. It's just, I mean, I did kind of experience a lot of like violence, I guess, unfortunately, in like past relationships and stuff like that. And so that's kind of like where I got that as well. So I don't know, for violence, I'm like, you know what, let's go, let's get violent and let's mosh, let's tear it up. That's and we usually open with that song. So it's like really like in your face, and um, it's a fun song to open with. So.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, I'm real sorry I had to kind of go through that too. No one should really go through anything like that. So, but it's good to see you made it through. And I would say there was definitely that intimidation feeling when I was listening to This Is War. I think like, oh, she's definitely talking about somebody there. And, so I was like, all right, and I'm like, I love it. I love this woman. So yeah, that's all good. And I would say, I was saying in terms of like Buried Alive or Violence, it was almost like Destroy Everything from like Capri. I don't know if you guys heard that song.
Yeah, I have.
Okay, that's all good. Yeah, that's what it kind of reminded me of too. So that's all good. All right, that's all good. But I guess can I get to like in terms of the scene where you guys play? First off, do you guys play locally or do you travel in around California?
We have played a few that are pretty local, like hometown shows and stuff, and then we've been getting out a little bit more, like out to like Sacramento, and we've got some stuff in the Bay Area and stuff. But we do want to hopefully maybe go on a small tour at some point soon.
Is that so far just for 2024? I guess since we're on that topic, I guess what's the goals and plans for the rest of this year and going into 2024?
Well, we actually have our first couple of headlining shows coming up. So we feels good that we're finally kind of moving up the bracket. We also, for 2024, we're not quite sure if we want to go album or EP. That's still kind of being decided. We have been writing a lot of material though, that's being recorded. We do have 2 singles that we're trying to get out at the end of this year and beginning of this year. We'd like to get them both out this year, but you can't rush these things. You want to have a great product and don't want to rush it out the door. As far as next year, there is a couple bands that we are talking with potentially doing kind of like a West Coast tour, working our way from Southern California up into Washington. I won't disclose any names yet because we're very early talks, looking at who has what schedule available. But we plan to be making an announcement, I would say in Q1, I would say probably towards the end of January.
Oh, that sounds so sick. Yeah, you guys got a lot of like, obviously you know about Metallica, Slayer, Testament, all those bands that came out of the Bay Area too. So I mean, like, I do want to press them. I want to press them a little bit further. Thinking like, is it one of those groups? I mean, would that be a dream come true for you guys?
Yeah, dude, it's so cool. Those guys are very supportive in the community. I was playing with another. Actually, I just joined Perfect Nightmare in July. I was playing with a band called Fortress the Night Before, and we played in Berkeley at the Gilman. And sure enough, I look out in the audience, and there's Phil Demmel, there's Tim Armstrong from Rancid, there's Zetro from Exodus. These guys they're very supportive of the community, and they come out to shows, and they'll even come and say hi and introduce themselves. They'll always take photos. We're hoping maybe we run into some more because next year we're going to be kind of working our way into the Bay Area, starting with Livermore. So I'm hoping they come out because I'd love them to see this band that I'm with now, because I feel like I'm in a much better project now, and it just would be so cool.
So good luck, but it's good to see that they are being supportive of the community. That really means a lot. Shows good people too. Good people. So.
They're the greatest.
All right. Let's get to the gear that you guys use. So I guess, Mario, what's the microphone you use? I guess, do you do any sort of help with the production in the early stages, or I guess who did all the production before?
I mean, for the most part, I just have my Shure wireless mic. I feel like the gear question is more for Brett.
Guitarists, we're on quad cortexes because we go direct to our mixer, who mixes it in real time and then sends it to the house. Bass is also direct as well. Drums, they're mic'd and everything. They're not electric or anything like that. As far as setup, I love the quad cortex because I'm a guy who likes to run a double amp rig, one dry, one wet, and I can very easily do it and have it output in stereo. For guitars, I am plain Jane super simple. I play a LTD black metal, so it's just one EMG 81 pickup, one knob, stainless steel frets, reverse headstock, through body, so I don't have to worry about a bridge. Very, very simple, straight to the point. But it's what kind of what you need for the band sound, essentially, because we have an aggressive metal sound, and active pickups are just great for clarity. The other guitarist, she's a little more complicated. She's got one of those high-tech headless guitars with the fancy contoured body. What are they? I think it's a Kiesel with the multiple pickups, and I think she has coil taps and stuff in them. And she's actually she's the lead guitarist, and she's incredible. I wish she could have been here because she's an awesome person. Probably one of the best guitarists I've ever played with, and she's just all around fun.
That's good to hear. And I guess does your drummer use a hybrid set, or is he just like a straight acoustic set?
Straight acoustic set.
That's pretty cool. And I was trying to figure if there was anything else too, because normally, I guess, what brand is like your picks and guitars that you guys use?
I prefer all ESP, especially now that they do all the LTDs in stainless steel. I'm a big fan of stainless steel frets. I like that extra brightness, plus knowing that this thing's going to last 20 years instead of 7 to 8 years nickel frets. It is a little harder on the strings, but I'd rather change strings than frets. It's being a band that plays all direct through modelers, it makes us a very get up and go, very fast kind of band, because my entire rig is my quad Cortex and my guitar. The only one who actually has a big load is the drummer. So it's going to be great when it comes time to tour and stuff like that, because our biggest worry is the drums, and everything else can really just kind of slip into corners and stuff like that.
I'll say, you guys looking to hire a roadie for an intern?
Yeah, I would. I got a couple friends that I know would love to. So that'd be great. But we also have our sound guy, and he's, like I said, this guy's incredible. He's I don't know how he does what he does, but our performances just sound so good coming through the mix, man. And we get a lot of compliments on it. And we're that band that, if we're earlier on the set list, we wake everybody up. We get them all fired up, and we're not the one you want to follow because we bring so much energy, especially Mari. Mari she's a tiny terror.
I was gonna say, you tried Gene Hoagland as your roadie again, because he was actually a roadie with a Slave for a little bit before he had joined Dark Angel way back in the day. So that was always interesting too. But he also took pictures. So does your sound guy also take pictures of or do any videos?
Actually, I have a bachelor's degree in photography from the Academy of Art University, and I'll have my master's at the end of the semester. So my wife, I've taught her how to shoot everything. Like everything that I know, I've taught her. So she comes along and does all our photographing, and then I do all the editing, and then I've actually taken over all the marketing for the band. So it makes it really easy because I can make all the graphics, and everything can be done in house, and it's not one of those situations where you're hoping you get the best photo from the photographer. I take the raw photos and I pass them along to everybody. I'm like, okay, is this okay or not? Is this gonna work? Because sometimes you get tagged in a photo and it's not a very flattering angle. I can just make sure everything comes out beautiful.
I mean, sometimes that's really all you need. At some points, don't really need to get fancy, I guess. But do you have Lightroom and Photoshop?
Yeah. I use Lightroom and Photoshop. And if I'm shooting tethered, I use Capture One.
I see. Actually, I actually got that package, and I've only used Lightroom a little bit. I haven't gotten really used to using like Photoshop, so it would be interesting to actually do it. But it would obviously be like one of those fantasy like pictures. Mm-hmm. Kind of things like you see the full moon close to like where the water would be, for instance, or something like that. Do something like Swim to the Moon or something like that. That was actually a Between the Buried and Me sort of song. That's actually one of my favorites from that group too. So it'd be something like that. So I'm not too sure. But Let's get into the topic of COVID. So I guess first off, when was Perfect Nightmare formed? I think you mentioned it, Mari, but if you want to elaborate a little bit more, go ahead and lead into COVID.
Yeah, we first formed a long time ago in 2013, 2014. So from that point up until I want to say about like 2015, 2016, we were active playing shows and stuff. And then there was a period of like 5 years where we weren't really doing anything. And so we had started to pick back up and like rehearse again, and like we needed to get a new lineup together and everything, Steph and I. That was probably in maybe 2018. And so then we started jamming with Chandler, our drummer, and Luis, our bassist, and we were jamming, we were writing, and kind of preparing ourselves to kind of make a comeback and be able to be out there playing shows again and stuff. And then COVID did hit in 2020, and we were like just gearing up to possibly like book some shows and stuff, and then COVID hit, and then it was just hard for us to really do anything, having to be under the stay-at-home order and stuff like that. So it was difficult because we were just really inactive. It made it hard for everybody, obviously. But then it got to a point where we had the masks and it was becoming a little bit safer. So we were, so then we were able to get together again after some time. But I feel like at that time things were already like a little bit difficult for us, like trying to come back and stuff, and then COVID just made it even worse. So
I see. I guess, Brett, if you want to elaborate a little more, I guess, how did COVID impact you and your family?
Actually, we got really lucky. I was going to school, and I am in a GI Bill program, and I was able. School went to online, so that monthly stipend I was getting really helped get us through. The country really kind of came through as a veteran, and we were able to navigate it. I would say pretty easily. Like I said, just very lucky I was where I was at the time. If I had been working, because my wife actually was running a photography business, and it went completely, COVID just destroyed it. We couldn't work with anything. We couldn't, because we worked with a lot of, she specialized in child photography, and we would get a lot of, I don't know if there was an agent down in LA or something like that was sending Disney kids up to photograph. But we just kept getting them. They just kept showing up and kept booking with us. And with, kids and how they can really kind of pick up everything, we just couldn't take a chance potentially getting COVID, because we actually also take care of my mother-in-law, who is battling stage 4 carcinoid cancer. So COVID for her would be a death sentence. So like I said, we were very fortunate. I was in school and I was in the program I was in, because we were in a situation where we couldn't take any risk.
I see. I'm really sorry to hear that too. I guess, is your mother-in-law doing okay now?
She's doing pretty good, actually. Her most recent PET scans came back really well. So she has what's called carcinoid cancer, and it causes slow-growing tumors all over her body. She's got them in her breast, in her back. She's got them in her brain, lungs. She's got them everywhere. But they have a medication that they give her called Sandostatin. She has to get an injection every month, and it knocks her out. It levels her. But it has stalled and shrunk the tumors a little bit. So it's kind of one of those things where you'll never get rid of it, but it's how long can you survive with it?
I see. I'm sorry to hear that too, but it's good to see she is doing well. So hopefully she'll be around to give you guys a.
Yeah, she's actually going to come out to our show, Mari, on the 9th in December, our first headliner.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
That'd be pretty sweet. All right, that's all good. Best of luck going forward on your journeys. I guess, did you guys have any brushes with COVID? I guess, Mari, were you okay?
I never got it actually, unless I did get it and didn't have symptoms and never got tested. But I never got sick. So.
And Brett?
I got sick, but I never tested positive. So I don't know. It felt like it, but
I mean, I'm still alive at this point, so
yeah,
I mean,
I never had a positive test. My wife did, but I didn't. But I had the same thing for some reason. Mine kept coming up negative. I'm pretty sure
one of those false positives or something like that too. Maybe it was like cold or flu or something like that. I know that's tend to happen at times.
Yeah, it was funny though, because she had the symptoms and everything, and her tests were all positive, and I was just as sick, and all mine are negative. I'm just like, what do I have? What's going on here?
It's all good. It's all good. So it's good to see you guys made it through. It's good to have you on this journey as well. I would say mine was a little bit funny because I still remember the day when it happened. When I started working from home for my main job was March 15th of 2020. And I almost went 3 years without getting COVID at all because me and my parents, we always played safe. We did travel, but we never got sick from it at all. And sure enough, you go to Music City, Nashville, and you can probably guess what happens after you come home with it. So a little too much bar hopping and enjoying life in Broadway and Nashville. So got a little bit of a downer too, but it's all good. At least talking about it makes you feel better.
We were very lucky. We had gotten at least 3 injections at that point, and so it wasn't that bad. But it was annoying, and then trying to make sure that we don't get my mother-in-law sick, and trying to keep away from everyone. That was the most difficult part, I guess you could say.
I would imagine too, yeah. Yeah, I do know a friend who's immunocompromised, so it'd be the kind of same sort of scenario. It's practically a death sentence if she gets it. So I can relate. So, but it's all good in the end. All things considered, it's all good. But Mari, when you were talking about the band, since you formed it in 2013, did you guys come out with any original material, or were you kind of doing like covers in the beginning?
We were doing a lot of covers in the beginning. We didn't really, we had original music that we had written, but we never really recorded anything. So we had our songs that we would play. We just never like got into a studio and recorded them or anything. I mean, we had like a demo that was floating around with some rough recordings, but that's about it. But yeah, we played a lot of covers and few originals here and there back then.
I guess what was the first original you made? Was that This Is War?
No way. God, our very first song that we wrote it's probably a song called Silent Thief, which it's gone.
You don't want to bring it back? I would say probably a bonus track off the album. That's what we could do.
Maybe. I mean, me and Steph would have to talk about that, but that would be cool to revamp an old song like that.
I do know a band, a death metal band. It was Suffocation, and I think it was their album Breeding the Spawn. And what happened was, I think it was a 1993 album, and when they went into the production, I think they just didn't have enough money in order to like get a good mixing, mastering. So when you listen to the album, the music's not very good. So I think what they did afterwards on every single album, they would release one song from that Breeding the Spawn album, kind of like a remix or a redone version, if you will. So that's what it kind of reminded me of. I didn't know she was going to try something like that. Revisit like all her songs. I would just do one per album afterwards too. So it's it.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
But I'll leave it up to you guys. So we'll see what happens. But I guess in terms of challenges, would you guys still first consider yourself indie musicians, or do you think you're past that?
Definitely indie musicians. We're very fortunate. We're in a very, very good community. Where the city we're based out of, Modesto. I don't remember what survey it was, but I got voted #1 underground scene in the USA. And we do have a very big metal scene, and we have a lot of very, very talented bands in our area. And we have great promoters. There's something going on every weekend, even weekdays. It's probably one of the best areas to kind of get into the metal scene. And then because you're so close to LA, you're so close to the Bay Area, San Francisco area, so it's kind of like a great kind of middle zone to be in.
That's good to hear. But this was leading into this question, I guess. What challenges do you face being indie musicians right now?
Oh, I would say the biggest one is just kind of getting yourself out there, not having a label at your back. It can be a little difficult to kind of get over some barriers because some people just don't take you serious as indie musicians. There is a reputation that comes with it. But we try to take everything we do very seriously. We've gotten very serious with our marketing, and it has done a great job. We've been getting great results. We really feel like we're starting to pick up some steam. It's all trial and error. And I always kind of like YouTube. YouTube is an incredible resource. And one thing that's been very helpful for us is getting ourselves on the radio. I watched a couple YouTube videos on how to submit music to radio stations, and it's crazy because when I was younger, when you recorded a demo, you basically got like 50 extras so you could mail them out to radio stations and stuff like that. And nowadays you can find their emails online, and the worst thing they're going to say is no or ignore you. So I just keep putting ourselves out there, and we've been able to get on the radio in Europe, South America, Australia. We haven't gotten into Asia yet, all over the United States. But every now and then we actually kind of start getting emails from DJs wanting our MP3s and stuff. So it's really cool. I would say a lot of DJs are very, very, very supportive of the underground scene, and they've done so much to help us by making us part of their programs, and when we're on there, making sure they do a shout out to our Spotify and stuff like that. That really kind of has really brought a lot of traffic in for us. And it's always funny. You can tell when we got a shout out on the radio because our numbers just spike real quick. So I would say there's challenges, but there's also, new roads in, and you just kind of got to find those little holes.
Absolutely. I guess, Mario, what challenges do you face being, I guess, vocalist first, but I guess also as part of an indie group as well?
I think kind of like what Brett said, like just putting yourself out there, doing social media and promoting that way, Facebook and Instagram and all that, they're all, amazing tools, and getting your name out there and being able to promote yourself. But it's also like, it can be like time consuming, and it can be a lot of work, really just pushing to get yourself out there and doing anything that you can. But regardless of it being time consuming at times and really tedious, I've always really enjoyed like promoting and social media and all that kind of stuff. So I think, that can be difficult, with everything that comes with promoting on social media and stuff like that. But I enjoy it.
I always did want to ask, like, for vocalists and metal groups, like how they do the screaming wise too, I guess. Do you use any sort of special techniques or any sort of devices? Because I thought I saw George Fisher, aka Corpse Grinder. I thought he was like using some sort of device he would like stick his head into, and it would relax his vocal cords. So I guess, is there some sort of techniques that you use, Mari?
As far as like warm-ups and stuff, not really. I mean, I do my warm-ups on my keyboard and everything. I also recently discovered straw phonation, and that's been helping me a lot as well. So other than that, I don't do anything too crazy when it comes to warming up or anything like that.
That's very good. I mean, sometimes what I normally do is, if I'm listening to any sort of metal on the radio too, I just try to do my own little screaming in the car. I mean, it's just me, so it's not like anybody can hear me. So it's at least it's some sort of therapy too. But I know you talked about music being therapeutic in a way too. Would you say that's the biggest reason you love music, or I guess do you guys have other reasons why you love it?
I mean, yeah, I mean that's a big reason, having that outlet and stuff. I mean, I think just having a passion for it really, and having a love and commitment for it. So
For me, yeah, it's been I have severe PTSD from my time in combat, and I would say art was first the big thing that really helped me, and that's when I got into photography. And you just got to kind of find these things to channel yourself into while you're in therapy and working through stuff. It's one of those things that you never really get over, but you learn how to live with. And music has been a colossal help in being like this mode of expression. Whenever I am having a really hard moment, I can just throw some headphones on, fire up the quad cortex, and just kind of let myself flow out, and just kind of let all that energy, that anger, that anxiety, that fear, just let it all just kind of flow out of me. And I would say it's probably saved my life almost. It's the value of music. It's been incredible, and I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world. I wish more guys, who are struggling would find stuff like that to help them, kind of get through those hard days. Because it's, like I said, it never really goes away, but you learn how to live with it, and you learn how to have these little things that you can go to that can really help pull yourself together.
Yeah, I know about PTSD, but my dad told me a story about a guy who had lived on his street a while back when he was a kid, and he had fought in Guadalcanal. So that was when the Japanese just kept coming wave after wave. So when he returned home, that stuff really stuck with him. So obviously they didn't have like the therapy that they had today, and so unfortunately he took his own life. So that was kind of a sad story there. But I guess, what sort of therapy do they do with people with PTSD? Did they do some sort of music therapy?
No, they didn't do any music therapy. Medication, which has been a big help, but you got to make sure you have a doctor who knows what they're doing, because there are some doctors that I've had friends that have died because they just wrong combo, stopped their heart in their sleep. So that therapy, cognitive processing therapy was a big help for me. It's where you write, and you keep writing, the events over and over again, and it kind of starts desensitizing you to it. And then as you're writing it, you start getting familiar with your triggers, and then ways to kind of handle them and stuff like that. Group therapy helped a lot. That was great, because it gives you this community where you don't feel like you're alone. You're talking with other veterans, and they're from all, Vietnam, Desert Storm. You don't see very, very many World War II vets anymore. Those guys are so old now. But it really, you gotta ask for it though. A lot of guys, they just don't want to ask because they fear the stigma that comes with it. And I just feel so bad for those guys, because there's a better life on the other side, and you got to really just kind of get out there and talk to the VA. They have phone numbers. They want you. They want to bring that number, that 22 suicides a day down. We don't want that anymore. And you see more and more programs popping up, to help guys, and some really good charities that hold events to kind of bring the community together and start veteran sports teams and bowling leagues and stuff like that.
That's very good to hear. I guess, are you part of any sort of charities that are trying to help out with that sort of thing?
No, but I have friends who are, and if there's anything I can do to kind of help out, I will, with photography and stuff like that, or if they need me to do a flyer or anything of that nature. I personally, me kind of getting out is kind of like a newer thing. It took me a couple years to get to that point. In fact, I also had a lot of brain damage from explosions and stuff like that. So I had a hard time walking when I got out, and I had to go into therapy for that as well. Actually, I couldn't even play guitar. My hands just didn't work properly. I didn't get that back until 2018, thanks to all the help I was getting in therapy. Just all these little things they give you to work on, exercises and stuff that really massage your brain and help you recover. And I would say probably the act of playing guitar, because of the dexterity it requires and the way that it massages those neural connections in your head, having to be rhythmically strong and understand and think. And you can see how it really exercises that mathematical side of the brain when you've lost it and you're getting it back. It's really cool. I'm able to think clearly and all that stuff now.
That's very good to hear. And I guess, do you have any links? Maybe after the call, maybe you could share.
Absolutely.
All right, discuss more about that. But thank you again so much there, Brett. But get back into music. Kind of down to really last couple right here. Then we got some of the fun ones here. But let's jump into this one here. What advice would you give to other musicians? I guess, are you guys part of the Band Together community on Facebook? Yeah,
actually, we just recently joined it, and I love it. So many supportive people from around the world, and we've made a lot of connections to people I don't think I would have found otherwise. But if I could give any advice, YouTube. Go to YouTube for marketing. There's a lot of people giving out great advice. They're going to want you to pay for something. Don't pay for it. Just take the little nuggets they give you, move on to someone else, take the little nuggets they give you, keep trying new things. Reach out to radio stations. They're out there. They want new music. They want to find something cool. There's a lot of internet radio stations that will help get you started. And then once you start getting to know the DJs, start reaching out to those DJs. I feel like that's an angle like a lot of the bands in our area aren't really exploring right now. And it's that is a huge resource that's out there that's very accessible with a computer. That and your social media, keep track of what you're doing, what your postings are, your reception you're getting, spreadsheets, see what works, and then run down that whatever it is that you figured out. Also, one big tip: metadata in your photos on Photoshop, keywords. Those will help your search algorithm. Drop your Spotify links in them. Drop keywords that will kind of help Google find you, your name, all that stuff. It's a resource that a lot of people don't really know about, that you can write into your photo files that really help you on a search algorithm. So when people are looking for you, your name comes up a lot quicker. And the more those photos get looked at, the more those photos get shared, the more that boosts.
All right, and Mari?
I think just be involved. Obviously everything Brett just said. But I think actually going out there and going to other bands' shows, and being supportive and getting involved with the bands that you play with, the other local bands in your area, I think is really important as well. Build those relationships and those connections with other bands, promoters. I think that recently has helped us make some progress. Because we're all in this together. We all want to succeed and we all want to see each other succeed. So, I think get involved with the other bands that you play with, make friends, make sure you're getting out there and making those connections and being seen at shows, not just your own, just get out there and support, I think is one of the best things that you could do. As far as like making connections and also helping get your name out there, and just really sticking together with one another.
And don't be afraid to help out where you can. We actually, one show we were playing, we have a better PA, and we showed up early. We set up all the sound. Our sound guy took care of the entire show. We made a lot of connections doing that. And actually, I think there was it on Loudwire or something like that? There was an article with Dino Kazarnis where he was talking about when he met Dave Mustaine, and he asked him, what's the secret to success? And he said networking, network. Like there's no tomorrow. The more connections, the better.
Absolutely. Sorry, I thought you were actually done there. That's why I started talking. So that's all good. All good. All right. Good key words of advice there too. So take notes, people. These guys know what they're doing. So that's all good. All right. So looks like we're down into the fun questions right now. I guess you guys ready for this?
Yep.
That's all like, you all ready for this? That's all right. So the first of the fun questions. What is your favorite food?
Favorite food? I was thinking about this one a lot too, because I'm so not a picky eater. Like, I like most foods. So like I think about it, I'm just like I don't really have too much of a favorite food, but I mean if I had to pick something, I would probably pick Mexican food. Can't go wrong with tacos.
Yep, and Brett?
Chili dogs, man. I love chili dogs. Chili dogs, throw some onions on it, throw some cheese on it, get in the recliner, turn on some Monday Night Football. That's freaking
No, man. Actually, it's funny when you mentioned about chili dogs. I don't know how big you guys were to cartoons, but there was one, Go Damn Kid Next Door, where one of the guys just kept eating chili dogs the whole time. But he kept putting on this guy's counter who happened to have like a OCD sort of obsession. He just would always wipe down his counter after the chili dog was set down on his counter. So it sounds kind of stupid too, but like in cartoons, that's kind of like how it goes too.
No, it's funny.
But anyway, trying to at least make the story short. The guy who has like that OCD obsession with like wiping down his counter, he ends up turning these two guys who really love chili dogs against each other. They like make this big plan that he wants to just destroy the chili dog factory, so he doesn't have to worry about his desk getting all dirty or anything like that anymore. So it was interesting too, but at the same time, it's like cartoons. You want to say stupid, but at the same time, it's like it's funny too because it's just like it somehow works. I mean, that's how it works.
I'm a big fan of Seth MacFarlane cartoons and South Park and Adult Swim, Rick and Morty, Metalocalypse, all that stuff. Even at my age, I still look forward to it, man. Cartoons are the best.
Did you say you're actually bringing Aqua Teen and Hunger Force back? Did you watch that at all?
Yes, I did, man. I love that show.
I don't know about the fluid motions. It now kind of makes it look a little strange, to be honest. Don't you agree?
Yeah, it does. It was an interesting time back then in the 2000s. People could be vulgar in ways that they can't be now. And it was like there was no rules. It was pretty wild. Adult Swim just kept turning out crazier and crazier material with like Robot Chicken and that Super Gel show. Where at the end of it, it would erupt into
Squidbillies, yeah.
Yeah, Squidbillies. I mean, man, I don't know what goes on over there, man, but that's like a place I would love to work.
It's like where Ren and Stimpy show like ended up, but when they actually did make an adult version of it, it ended up being absolute shit.
Yeah.
So it was almost like just keep pressing the boundaries, and if they don't do anything, that means we're doing something right. Just keep it going.
South Park wrote the book on it, man. Those guys have been attacking everything for years, man, and nothing's slowing them down.
I think it almost did. I forget which episode it was. I think it's when Stan was going through like cynicism or something like that. It seemed like they were kind of running out of ideas. Mm-hmm. But then it was like somehow he still came back and made X amount of seasons later. So I mean, he barely did run out of ideas. He just needed maybe a break at times. So.
Oh yeah, those guys have been going since like '96, and then they've got that big production, Book of Mormon, and then actually they're heavily involved in their video games. So they just, I mean, they've figured out how to be a triple threat.
Yep, somehow. And I guess Mario, what was your favorite cartoons back in the day?
Oh man, let's see. Like definitely a big fan of Rugrats. Yeah, Rugrats was the thing, man. But all those like 90s Nickelodeon cartoons like Doug and God, what else was there?
I think Rocko's Modern Life was on Nickelodeon.
Yeah, Rocko's Modern Life. All stuff like that when I was a kid. Yeah.
I actually ended up revisiting a couple, and I think the same guy who did Rocko's Modern Life did Camp Lazlo afterwards, which I think moved to Cartoon Network. So it's funny when you come back around and you're like, I miss these shows so much. Like Ed and Eddie was another one too.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Seriously.
Dog.
Snoop Dogg or?
Oh, Courage the Cowardly Dog.
Oh, Courage, yeah. Oh yeah, and we lost that actress who had played Mario, and may she rest in peace.
Oh yeah.
Did she pass away this year or last year? Actually.
Yeah, like recently.
It was definitely recently, but I thought it was last year. So
I forget.
That was a damn shame. You know, I really was not big into Courage, but now that I think about it, I think I did watch a good bit too. And I think the episode with him having his parents shot off to the moon was definitely a touching episode. So obviously you can laugh about it as an adult, but it's like, oh, that's so heartbreaking, man.
The show was actually scary, and that dog was everything but cowardly.
I mean, he was doing a lot more than what Eustace was doing. So I think it's just meant to be like, well, he was always screaming, to be honest. He was always trying to run away. But it's like, when danger comes, and you're backed into a corner, you stand up, and you do what's right. So, all right. Now, get back into the fun questions. What's your favorite movie?
You know, I don't really watch a lot of movies or TV, but like if I had to pick something, I'd probably pick The Hangover.
I guess, Brett, I didn't know if she was going to elaborate.
Oh, I'm a nerd and a half, man. But that makes it hard to pick. I mean, I love The Lord of the Rings. I love Star Wars. I love Star Trek. I love that they're getting involved with Dungeons and Dragons again. I guess you could say I'm a big fantasy sci-fi fan, but I mean, I love everything. Me and my wife, that's just one of our things we do. We have like certain, like, it's November, so it's getting into Harry Potter season. So we'll go through the Harry Potters right now, and then usually when we get after the first of the year, we go through the Lord of the Rings, and then we'll go through the Marvel series. And there's like, what, 25 of them now? It's gonna be a month now. And just all those, man. I'm a big fan of movies, big movie buff.
I would say for Lord of the Rings, did you also get the extended editions?
Oh, you know it.
My man.
Yeah. When I was a kid, I got those little box sets. They had like 4 DVDs in it. Still have those, and then they dropped Did they drop Blu-rays? No, Star Wars dropped Blu-rays. Lord of the Rings went to 4K just recently.
I think everybody like stopped doing like DVDs in general, so it's almost like you got to do streaming now.
Yeah. So, but I've bought them on on streaming platforms as well. I don't know. It kind of reminds me of I was in high school when those movies came out, so it kind of takes. It's one of those things. There's a lot of nostalgia there as well.
You're in line, actually. I think it's since you're in a little bit of a vinyl revival. Whenever you think about it, I think at some point it's gonna be like DVDs are gonna make a revival at some point. Those are gonna be like big sellers. So it's like, hold on to those DVDs. I think we'll be able to sell it for a pretty penny afterwards. So
and cassettes now.
That too, yeah, that is true. You know, I haven't seen too much. I've honestly seen more vinyls, if anything, regardless of like what music store I walked into. So I've not heard too much about cassettes, so that's interesting. So, for the next fun questions, first off, do both of you drink at all?
Occasionally, yes.
Occasionally.
Okay, and what's your favorite alcoholic drink and favorite non-alcoholic drink?
Favorite alcoholic drink? I mean, I do drink occasionally. I don't really drink that much, but I usually like a good margarita. Usually on the rocks, a mango margarita. That's where it's at for me. But non-alcoholic, just water. I mean, I drink so much water as a vocalist, so I mean, it's the best thing you can drink. So I'm gonna have to give it up for water.
That is the most essential thing to drink too, so you can see why. All right, and Brett?
Well, my favorite beer is the one beer I can't get, Yingling. I live in California, and they don't sell on this side of the Rockies, so I got into it. I had a lot of friends who were from the East Coast I served with, and when our PX got Yingling in, they're like, "Oh, you got to try this," and I started drinking it. It's I mean, whenever it would show up to our post out in Italy, we would just try to buy it by the pallet. But because I can't get a hold of Yingling, I would say a Blue Moon on tap.
I'd say I never understood Blue Moon. I think it's an acquired taste, to be honest, because I know a friend of mine who really likes drinking those too. And,
I'm someone whose stomach gets upset easily, and for some reason, like the wheat beers, just kind of resonate a little better. And Blue Moon just has this kind of smoothness and richness to this that I don't know, it just really resonates with me.
Fair enough, that makes sense too. Though I am surprised about the Yingling one because I'd say I think that's why California always gets a bad rap. It's no longer politics. It's a certain beers they just won't serve there too. So
It drives me nuts.
I can see why. There.
I'm hoping if we tour, we get on the East Coast because I'm going to be buying as much Yingling as I can to bring back.
I'll say, Mario, you're gonna have to be dragging Brett around, to be honest. So. I'd say if you want to hire me, I mean, I'll do it $20. So I'll do it for that.
If she goes to the grocery store, if there's Yingling there, on our Vicenza, grab a couple for me. Because when I was deployed, there's no way I can get there to buy him. So when I came home and there was the garage was full of beer.
And it just was not the right sort of beer that you needed. I mean, it was all Yingling. He would have been all over that.
Oh yeah. No, it was. It was.
Oh, it was?
Yeah. Oh, it was crazy too. Whenever it would show up on post, it was gone within 24 hours. Dudes freaking fought to get a case.
I can see why. I mean, it is pretty smooth. So, I mean, I can see why you'd love it. I never I never really got fully into it. I mean, every now and again I would like to drink it, but I got more into the apple ciders. I tend to like the Angry Orchards at times.
Well, those are really good.
The green apple is to die for. I will say that. All right. And for the last of the fun questions, what is currently your favorite song?
Ooh. Right now, my favorite song? I don't know. That's hard. I really like the new Spirit box that just came out. I've been really into that. Cellar Door. I've been listening to that a lot. I mean, I guess I could say that's my favorite song right now at the moment.
I would say I really like Jaded a little bit more.
Really? Yeah, I mean, I just love the heaviness of Cellar Door. It just goes crazy. But I would say, yeah, at the moment it would be Cellar Door. It'll probably be something different next week.
Probably, but they are actually kicking ass. So I will have to agree that Spirit Box is definitely a great band, to be honest. And Brett?
Well, maybe it can count as one song. Is this a concept album count as one song? Because it's just one continuous song.
I mean, I know Between the Buried and Me did a album. It was like it sounded like one continuous album, but each song was like a little bit different too. So I guess what do you have in mind?
Dream Theater Scenes from a Memory, Part 2, Miracle of the Sleeper. I think.
This is all like is it like one continuous story with each song?
It's kind of like a murder mystery story about some guy who's going in and out of a past life and stuff like that. But it's just the work on it was incredible. The what they were able to achieve, and the fact that they were able to kind of create this one long continuous story that just goes. You can't tell the track changed. It's just an incredible work of art, and it's really kind of what got me into Dream Theater.
So instead of like Murder on the Orient Express, it's now Murder in the Reincarnated Circle or something like that.
Yeah, it's kind of this crazy story where this guy's like, it opens up with some guy being hypnotized, and then it just kind of like goes into this like dream sequence kind of instrumental. And the guy finds out he's a girl who was murdered, and it turns out the doctor he's seeing is the murderer. So at the end of it, the doctor shows up and makes it full circle and murders the guy. And it's kind of cool how those first couple albums, wherever the one song ended, the next album picked up exactly where that came off. So it was kind of cool to go to the next album, and the static that it ends on is starting, and then the next album starts. It's an incredible thing that they did across, I think it was their first 7 albums.
I didn't actually think into Dream Theater until I actually heard him on Rock Band. And that was actually when it did a Panic Attack on there. That was actually the first time I had heard about him. I kind of dug a little bit more every now and again, too. And unfortunately, I kind of got off track of them as well. So I haven't really got to like the progressive rock or anything like that. Or prog rock, however they want to pronounce it, too. Let alone progressive metal. So I need to get myself back into that. So I'll have to check it out.
Actually, when they filmed, they have a live album for it called Scenes from New York. And after that performance, Dave had to be hospitalized because it's nonstop. He never got a break. And he had to be hospitalized for dehydration. It just goes to show like their showmanship and how much they put everything on the table. And I regret more than anything, they had a 20-year anniversary of it, and they just did a tour like 4 years ago. I completely missed it. I'm hoping when they're old, I'm hoping when the 30 year comes around, I'm aware and they're still able to perform, because those guys are kind of getting old now. But yeah, check it out sometime, man. It's incredible.
Oh well, then that will be interesting too. Actually, I did see tickets for Iron Maiden, so I'm going to see if me and my dad can go, because it's like I said, all these guys and I was starting to get old too, so you want to try to catch them while you still can. So
yeah, we go to we have the Aftershock Festival about an hour from us, and they just got picked up for next year, so I'm definitely making sure I go Iron Maiden night.
that sounds good. And I think they come to my neck of the woods in November, so unfortunately I got a little bit of time. I think it's best to jump on those tickets now before they all vanish before it's too late. So we'll see what happens.
Last time I saw them, I got so lucky. They were promoting the Somewhere Back in Time album, or Greatest Hits album. So the tour for that, they had all the stages from all the eras, and they kind of played the albums in order, all the hits from, I would say, they went as far as the Fear of the Dark. So from the beginning to Fear of the Dark. So you got to hear all those great, 80s Iron Maiden songs, and each time they would go to a different album, suddenly it's the Power Slave stage, suddenly it's the Somewhere in Time stage, and they had every Eddie from every era came out. It was the first time I saw them, and it was probably one of the most incredible shows I'd ever seen. So I'm hoping, about 20 years later, they're still meeting the mark.
That would be a nice set list. It would be interesting to see. So remains to be seen. So we'll leave it at that. All right. Excuse me. So Mari and Brett are near the end of my podcast, and we're down to one more question. I guess before we jump into it, did you guys have any questions for me, or any final words you want to say before we jump into it?
I'm kind of curious. What's your musical background?
Well, I wish I knew what sort of condition I would have, because I was always into like just certain artists that I really liked, for instance. So when I was young, it was like the punk band Bush, Van Halen, Vertical Horizon, a little bit of Metallica. I would say maybe just the old school Metallica, because I blamed my dad for it. So I had at least some metal when I was growing up. The other ones, I said Vertical Horizon. I always forget them too. But there was a little bit of Green Day and like some other exposure to like some of the like Black Sabbath, for instance, or any of those old classic rock sort of groups. You never really got into like more of the 80s, so you didn't know like any of the other thrash or some of the other guys who came out of the Bay Area, for instance, other than Metallica. But it was really about that for a while. And then a friend of mine introduced me into alternative music, mainly also like alternative metal, like Under Oath, From Bottom to Ashes. There was a little bit of like the groups like Korn and Mudvayne.
Oh, yeah.
He kind of introduced me as well. I would say my dad was always freaked out with Mudvayne whenever they first did like the makeup way back in the day. He said it was always like Kiss with in a rap metal sort of scenario. I think that was the way he kind of described it.
I think their shtick at the time was that they were aliens or something like that. In the
it was something like that.
LD album era. And then they kind of, as time went on, they kind of dropped the paint. And then now it's back. Yeah,
I finally came back. So I don't know if it was aliens. I know they kind of did like stage names, for instance. And I think they always did like the little bullets, holes that were kind of showing up in their heads right there. They came, I think they came to a Grammy kind of dressed like that too. They played like Dig for the audience to like hear too. So I was like, I don't know if I want to see it, because I think people are going to be like, what the fuck is this? That sort of thing. So it took a little while, but actually I got into death metal quite by accident. It was really me, and it was actually Dying Fetus that actually got me into the death metal scene.
Wow. And, very intense band.
Oh, yeah. You don't have to tell me. I still remember the song. It was Homicidal Retribution. That was what got me hooked. Ironically, I think that's a song that does not get played a whole lot.
Straight down that rabbit hole, man.
I mean, it didn't take long afterwards. I mean, I got into Misery Index afterwards. I really started to branch out, starting into like a lot of the more American sort of heavy death metal sort of bands. Sort of one, and even the older ones who came down from the 90s, for instance. I didn't get into Europe a little bit later. I would say I think bands like Behemoth and even like Dream Theater and all those other guys, they didn't come to like a little later. And once again, it was quite by accident. I just found them out on my own, whether it was through Rock Band, for instance, or just searching around and trying to see what other music there was. So that's about the extent of it. But I at least took up drums because of Rock Band. I got electric drum set tucked away over there, so hop on it every now and again. It's a good sweat workout. So that's about the extent of it, I guess.
Drumming, man. I'm happy I play guitar. It's like I look back there and Chandler flying around like a madman, and I'm just wondering to myself, man, how does he keep his elbows from getting tinnitus?
I'd say it comes with experience.
Yeah.
But it's also good to like work out the limbs too. I'd say you'll get a very good workout with drums, especially in metal.
Oh yeah, sweatiest guy on the stage.
Oh yeah, and we're the heartbeat of the whole thing. So I mean, we're the ones that keeping you in line there. So you're welcome.
Saving our butts every time we fall out.
Yep, absolutely. And the 1, 2, 3, 4 sort of thing. So that's about the extent of it. So at least the short story. I don't think I want to elaborate a little bit more. I don't want to bore anybody. So that's about my story. I guess, did you have any other questions?
No, I think that's about it.
All right, that's good. So in that case, we'll jump into the final question.
Oh, wait, one last.
Oh.
Steelers fan?
I am, yes. I guess you also love the Steelers as well?
Bears fan. It's been a rough couple of years.
Bears.
Yeah. I'm happy to see Pittsburgh starting to figure things out, though.
I'd say a little bit. We still got a little ways to go. And trust me, they're still trying to fire their offensive coordinator.
You could feel the loss of Roethlisberger, though, man. I miss watching him.
Yeah, he was always interesting. He never really could run when he started getting a little bit older, too.
But he was one of those guys that was hard to tackle because he was bigger than the linebackers.
That too, yeah. So that was always a big plus. I think in his young days, I think he was able to tuck and run a whole bit. But that's what everyone wants to look for nowadays. They want like what Justin Fields was. He's able to tuck and run. Yeah. And unfortunately, I picked up Justin Fields in my fantasy. I had to drop in him because of what was happening. So you can guess what happened.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yes, Steelers fan, even though it is hard to watch. So I don't think I can deal with it, to be honest. They're going to give me a heart attack one way or the other.
Oh, yeah. I don't know how I'm still a Bears fan, but each year I get my hopes up. We're dashed in week 4, but at least I can just start looking at college and being like, okay, who's going to be great on the draft?
Yeah. I'd say best of luck next year.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is that all good? I want to make sure was there anything, Mario or Brett?
No, I think we're good.
All right. So for the last question right here, this is one I always like to ask. But given what COVID has done, obviously you guys have been blessed. You weren't really impacted by COVID too much. But given what COVID has done for those who were impacted in a great way, what sort of message of hope could you give to musicians and people out there as we try to move forward in a post-COVID world?
I mean, I guess just keep going, I think doing this gets a little bit discouraging at times, but I don't think that's a reason to give up. There's so many times where I felt like, this isn't worth it anymore. I think I should just give up. But I think just keep going. I think if you have that passion for it and, that love for it, then I don't think there's any reason to stop. I mean, we've been doing this now for, like 10 years. I mean, with breaks and stuff in between. But I think we have always come back to Perfect Nightmare and wanted to make it work despite all of the challenges because we love it and we can't see ourselves not doing this. So I think just don't give up and just keep going and keep trying because at least one person saw what you did, basically. So.
I guess, Brett?
I would say one thing that I have really noticed is during COVID, with the lockdowns and everything, people kind of got to see what it was like to live in a world where like things like live music and all these things that they may have been taking for granted, they're gone. And now that they're back in 2023 in particular, I've noticed a massive influx of concert attendance, especially in our area. Um, Lots and lots of people are showing up to shows, more than I've ever seen. And so people, they got things taken away from them, and now that they've got it back, they're out there and they want to have a good time. And as a musician, you are the entertainment. You are the one who's going to bring them a good time, and you need to focus on that. Focus on you're a musician, yes, but you're an entertainer second. So these people are they want to be entertained, and you need to be that one that's like, wow. You need to wow them. And sometimes it requires having a little bit of perspective and being able to take a step back and maybe video your performance. Look at things that you want to do to improve. With that, I would also say, if it's not, I would say with Perfect Nightmare, I'm new to Perfect Nightmare, but the way it looks to me, like they had something that wasn't working and they went back to the drawing board. And the sound that, that they have now didn't exist before. So don't be afraid to kind of drop what you're doing, re-examine what you're doing, and relaunch yourself under a new identity. Because there's, Mari, would you say would all these logos exist before? And the look and everything?
No.
As part of the new launch?
Yeah, like the current logo and the current like symbol, is part of kind of like the revival.
It's okay to kind of hit the reset button, because your next idea could probably be your greatest idea. And for this band, it was the greatest idea. And then, it's a game of persistence and having the confidence to put yourself out there. Don't be afraid to put yourself into a situation where you feel like a fish out of water or you have imposter syndrome. That's okay. Confidence will take you very far. That's how some people are able to fail upwards. They just have this confidence and charisma that opens doors for them. And then last, like, Mari said, make sure you network, make sure you're involved in your community, make sure, you're a face and people know they can depend on you, because that's going to help a lot as well.
For Mari, it's spoken like a true prodigy. And for Brett, check out the big brains on Brett. You a smart motherfucker. That's right.
Funny story, though, actually. I almost tried out for Perfect Nightmare. Yeah, they didn't have any music up because they hadn't relaunched yet. But I had come across Mari's Instagram, and I was like, wow, this girl can scream like Angela Gasso. Holy crap. Do they have any music out? And all they had was, I think, a video of them playing Killing in the Name of. And I was kind of like, oh, that's a cover. Maybe I hope they're not a cover band. So I didn't go with them. I ended up going with a different band. And when they dropped that single, I was like, oh my God, I made a mistake.
Yeah, you certainly did, Brett.
I made a huge mistake. Luckily, things did not work out. And Mari, I had reached out to her, but I'd never really closed that door. And she was willing to give me a chance. And, in that meeting, I told them, I don't think you, because Violence had come out and everything. And I told them, I don't think you guys realize what you're sitting on. You guys just aren't marketing yourselves properly. And they were willing to bring me in and let me kind of step in and take control of that. And the rest is, it's up and up from here.
That's very good to hear. So in other words, TGI Brett. Thank God, or I try to think of something like, thank God we got Brett. That's what it is. So it was like TGWGB. I think that's how it would go. Like, thank God we got Brett. So something like that. That's all good and very good advice. And Mari, Brett, we've reached the end of my podcast right here. We almost talked for almost an hour and 30 minutes. But did you guys have any final words or any shout outs you want to give before we close?
Absolutely. One thing I didn't bring up about big part of my recovery was my wife. She had at any time she could have walked out that door, but she stuck with me the entire time. In fact, made career choices that would accommodate me in the situation I was in. I had times where, I was looking at the news and I probably would have gone with it if it wasn't for her. And, all the things that have come from that and the place I am right now, I never thought I would be here. and in this band and talking to you, a podcaster, being interviewed about music that I'm involved in. Thank you, Carly. Thank you so much. Couldn't have done any of this without you. I love you.
So you picked a good woman, that's for sure. That's very good. And I guess, Mari, did you have any shout outs or any final words you want to say?
Yeah, I mean, I just want to thank everybody who's been streaming our music and coming out to the shows and, buying tickets to shows from us. We really appreciate your guys' support. Like I said earlier, this is only the beginning. We've had a lot of fun this year, and we've had some good opportunities this year, and we've met a lot of cool people. So just thank you to everybody that has been involved with Perfect Nightmare, the fans, the bands that we've played with, the promoters. Just huge shout out to all you guys. We wouldn't be doing any of this without you guys, so thank you.
That's very good to hear. And I guess how can people reach you outside of Facebook and YouTube? I guess what other social media are you guys on?
Everything.
I'll leave off TikTok, Instagram, all those guys, Twitter, now X.
Instagram, Perfect Nightmare Band, Facebook. We have a website, actually. Go to perfectnightmareband.com. All our links are there. Access to our Spotify, singles, you name it. Information on show dates. Everything you want to find is there.
All right, sounds good. So everyone, my guests today were Mari and Brett, hailing from California, and they're part of the metal band Perfect Nightmare. Make sure you guys go hit them up on the socials, go subscribe to their channels, wherever they may be. And if you see these guys in your neck of the woods, go check them out. You're not going to regret it one bit. So, Mari, Brett, thank you again so much for coming on. Stay safe, rock on, and stay tuned, y'all.
It was awesome, man.
Thank you.